Okay, so let's take a look at some mail security policies in Microsoft 365. Now, first thing I want you to know is that we have default policies already intact. We can modify those if we need to, but we have default policies already set. So when we start up our Microsoft 365 account, we do have some protection already in place. So from my Microsoft 365 Admin Center, I'm going to go to Show All, and I'm going to click on my Security Admin Center. And from my Security Admin Center, I'm going to go to Email and Collaboration. Now, Microsoft has put a lot of these, like the Purview, it's put a lot of functionality inside individual admin centers. And some of this comes from multiple different areas of Microsoft 365 or multiple different Microsoft 365 services. So I want the email and collaboration one if I'm looking at email policies, and I want to come down to policies and rules. And this is where I'll see what's already intact and what I can modify. So let's go to our threat policies, and we're going to see some different types of policies here. So templated policies, we have anti-phishing, anti-spam, anti-malware, the safe link, safe attachments, that's a premium feature that I don't qualify for at this point, and then some rules. Tenant allow or block lists, email authentication settings, advanced delivery, enhanced filtering. Okay, let's take a look at these three policies. So I'm going to click on my anti-phishing policy, and I have one default policy. Now I can add different policies for different groups of mailboxes if needed. But we're going to go with our default, and we're just going to look at our default settings and show you how to modify those if needed. So I'm going to click on my default policy, and there's a description here. Protection settings, I can edit my protection settings right here. Do I want to enable spoof intelligence? Yes or no? I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. And then actions. If a message is detected as a spoof, then what do we do with it? If the message is detected as spoof and DMARC policy is set as reject, then reject the message. If the message is detected as spoof by spoof intelligence, move the message to, and you can see each one of these steps as we go. And then to edit actions, we come down here and we would edit what happens for each of these actions. Now this is specific for anti-phishing and spoofing. So let's go to our next one. So back to there we go, policies and rules. I overlooked it. Back to our threat policies, and let's look at our anti-spam policy. Now same thing, we're going to have a default policy that applies to everybody, well in this case 3 default policies: anti-spam inbound, connection filtering, and anti-spam outbound. So I select the policy that I want, and just like before, this gives me the option to edit all of my settings. Block spam email, bulk mail threshold is 7. The URL, I can block.biz or .info sites, and you can see all of the different options we have here. And then these are all of our options of things that we're looking for and to help identify it as spam. And then here's my spam threshold and properties, where I can come in here and set my spam threshold. The bulk email, a higher means that more bulk email will be delivered. So lower is going to be more restrictive, but there's a higher chance of false positives. 7 is the default score. Anything with a score of less than 7 will not be deemed bulk email. Anything with a score of 7 or higher will be. So this is where you can adjust the sensitivity of your spam filtering. And then all of these different things: image links to remote websites, specify whether to increase the spam score for messages that include these types of links or URLs. And then we can identify specific things that say, yeah, this is more likely to be spam. And then things that we will mark as spam, empty messages, embedded tags. I'm not going to read through all of it, but you see that there's a lot there that we can customize. Okay, so that's our anti-spam filter. Now, there's not really a what's right, what's wrong group of settings. It's what works for your organization. Some organizations want a little bit softer of a spam policy because they're a little bit more paranoid about false positives or marking something as spam that actually isn't spam. Some people are much more militant. I don't care if I lose valid email, just if it's spam, I don't want to deal with it. And so they'll more likely to get, and I just said that backwards, they're more likely to get false positives. A false negative is when something is spam and we don't identify it. A false positive is when something is not spam and we do say that it's spam. So false positives block email that is legitimate. False negatives allow email in that should have been marked as spam. Okay, one last one I want to look at here, and that is going to be my anti-malware. So I have a default anti-malware setting. Again, like all of the others, I can create custom settings to assign to specific mailboxes, or I can just use the default one. And here are my settings for anti-malware. Okay, there we go. That is how we can use the Microsoft 365 tools to help secure our hosted email.